Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Virtual Mega Career Fair 2020. Today, we'll be having a webinar by 𝘴𝘰𝘰𝘠𝘬𝘭𝘆𝑥 Dzun Nurin, or known as 𝘴𝘰𝘰𝘠, with the virtual title of Get Your Dream Job by sharing the best stories about yourself. She is the head of design thinking and user experience research. Before we start this webinar, we would like for you to see a video and then we will start the webinar itself. All right. All right. So before we start this webinar, I would like to introduce 𝘴𝘰𝘰𝘠𝘬𝘭𝘆𝑥. She has more than 2 decades of experience in service operation management, marketing and corporate communications, problem solving, and leading high effective teams. She actually has more than 22 years of experience throughout SME and a lot of common grades, right? So hi, 𝘴𝘰𝘰𝘠𝑥.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi, Yuyan. Good morning.
Hi, so this is 𝘴𝘰𝘰𝑥. Hi,
Yes.
𝘴𝘰𝘰𝑥, can you tell me a little bit about where do you study?
I studied in a university in a small town in the US. It's called University of New York at Buffalo. It's about half an hour from Niagara Falls. So it's a very nice little city. A lot of international students and very cold weather. 6 months of winter.
𝘴𝘰𝘰𝑥, I heard that you studied at Stanford University before, is that correct?
Oh, no. That was a course that TM sent me because TM has various programs with these top universities. So I had the opportunity to go through a program that was designed for us with Stanford University. This is where I got certified as a design thinking practitioner as well as a trainer for design thinking.
All right, very interesting.
Yeah.
As everybody can know that how much accolades that actually 𝘴𝘰𝘰𝑥 have, and she's proven that she is a very experienced person, and she's a very professional as well. All right,
Okay.
all right. So before there's another thing for the webinar. If you post any questions, you may actually win a special token from TM. So please feel free to ask any questions. And when you ask a question, please write down your email so we can actually email you to get the special token from TM as well. All right. So 𝘴𝘰𝘰𝑥, you can go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. Okay, first of all, Yuyan, I wanted to ask, can they see the screen? Can they see the slide? Because I can't seem to see on my screen.
Oh, you can't see the.
I can't see the slides on my screen.
Is it not on the screen?
Yeah, all I see is our faces, both of us.
Oh,
But the slides are
okay.
not available. Okay, all right.
Yep. This is
Okay,
available.
all right. So
Okay.
everybody can see it, hopefully. Let's make this into an interactive session.
Hmm.
Young, you will, sort of you will be the moderator. And if you guys have
Sure.
any questions, please feel free to ask that question, as we go along, so that maybe we can answer, immediately. So a little bit about me. If you can see here, my story, Young made me feel old. Um, 22 years of experience, and I still have, inshallah, I will have at least another 15 years more to go before
It's
official
fine, One
retirement.
TV. You look young. You still look young, so it's fine.
Yeah. And I started working, when I was a student, actually. I started being a volunteer, a office gopher. I was working with the international office at the university. I was working in a bookstore. So for me, the work experience that you get along the way is very important. So don't be afraid to try anything. As you can be a babysitter, you can be a cafeteria worker, anything. It will help you to develop the skills as you go along. And also one thing it will do is that it will help you to develop empathy, and which is important as you go up in your career ladder, because you'll remember the time when you were at the bottom of that ladder. As I was saying here, I dream and plan. Dream and plan is very important. As a young person, I hope that the ones that are watching right now, maybe just starting your journey, it's never too late to start to dream and plan what you want. I started when I was 7. Not necessarily, that you will achieve everything, but at least it gives you a direction of where to go. And that's important, because you always must have goals. Then only you know where you're heading. So I always have my personal plans, professional. When do I want to get married? When do I want to have kids? But at the same time, how far do I want to go in my professional life? What do I want to achieve? What do I want to study? Where do I want to study? I was very certain that I wanted to study in the US since I was 7. So that's how long. And it did have some bumps along the way. But I made it. I was able to fulfill that dream. And one thing that you must remember is that you are always part of a team. Your family, when you're younger, your friends, your teachers are important. And then also people around you. It can be even the clerk in the school office, what do you call this, in the ones that help you with your records for your certificates and all those things. Everyone is important. So it's always important that you must remember that you are part of that community, and you must always appreciate, even your neighbors can help you sometimes, so never forget that you're not alone, and never forget that there are people that helps you along the way. Because sometimes people always think that your success is your own. It's nice to think of it that way, but it's never about you. It's always about people around you. Okay. So, and one more thing that I always, as a student, and I think this is something that you guys now, I think Malaysia is starting to start to do that, right? Where you have volunteer work. But I believe that is something that is good that you should do, not because you want to get a credit, in your university or on your certificate that you did volunteer work. But it's more because you believe in it. You believe that, whatever that you do will come back to you. So, and this is true, if you do good, it will come back to you. If you do bad, also, it will come back to you in some ways. So always think before doing something. So that's a bit about me. That's my value, and that's who I am. So if you have any questions, my LinkedIn, I think is also available, and the chat is also available for you to ask any questions. So let's do this. I approach this from a perspective of, instead of saying, acing your interview. Go ahead, Yu Yang, the next slide. That's fine. I approached it from a perspective of telling your story in an interview, because you know, when I was given the what you call this title for this, right? I was thinking that, okay, how do we do this a bit differently? And using my experience as a design thinker, you know, design thinking is about looking for stories of people. Because why do we want to tell you the stories, your story? Because your story matters. It creates connection. Because if, let's say, like just now, I told you my story about, you know, being a office gopher. You know, I'm sure some of you have had experience, and you will have, you know, certain experience. Maybe you felt bad about it, or there are things that you enjoyed about it, or people that you meet. Then you are able to actually connect with the interviewer very quickly. And connecting during an interview with the interviewer is very important, because if you don't connect, like it or not, we like to talk to people who we can connect. We like to, you know, find out more about a person whom we like. And connection creates that ability to, you know, to suddenly bond with someone. And you start to feel, hey, I'm not as different like Yu Yang. You know, Yu Yang wears spectacles. That's the first thing that I noticed. And you know what, actually I do too. And now that I'm older, I even wear one for, you know, the ones that I have to, when I read, I also have to wear one also. So it creates connection with people. So that's the reason why you want to tell your story. And it's always about, you know,
I have a question for you.
I beg your pardon, Yu Yang? You said something.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question for you. Yeah. So based on what you said, trying to get to know the other person.
Yes.
How professional should you actually be when you are in an interview?
How professional should you be in terms of, okay, there are things to do in interviews, right? I believe that when you go for an interview, you do your best to present the best of yourself. Because interview sessions, whether you like it or not, it's actually about selling yourself. And you always want to sell what's best about you. So you have to look professionally from the way that you present yourself. That means how you dress, how you get into the room, how you greet people professionally. So always dress nicely, always dress professionally, and dress well. Don't go into an interview dressed with hot pants and sleeveless shirt. Or, you know, even though you know that that company may be, what you call this, maybe hiring casually. So it could be Google. So, you know, where they have casual workwear. But you haven't gone into Google yet. You are not yet hired by Google. So by right, you should be presenting the best of yourself first. Then only once you get in to the company, then only, you know, you follow the culture of the company. If the company is a casual company that, you know, wears white t-shirt and jeans, then you do that. If a company is wearing ties, then you have to do that. Do I answer that?
Actually, my question was trying to move towards the during your conversation with the interviewer, right? Like, how professional should you actually be? Should you be a little bit more casually when you speak to the interviewer, or because as the point you point out just now, you would like to share your story? Yeah, be connecting to the interviewer themselves, right?
Okay, I understand. Because especially for you all younger generation now, you have WeChat language, or you know what we older people would like to call WeChat language. You do. That is something that you actually have when you start. It's always a bit more formal. You know, you greet a person, and then you use the correct language. It can be mixed. It can be Bahasa, it can be English, it can be even Chinese or Indian, depending on who is interviewing you. And you can ask that question, may I use another language with you, or, you know, something like that. And you shouldn't be cursing. That is one. No. Okay, and then you shouldn't, be calling, let's say, for example, if you that person is a bit older than you, you call them kakak or abang. I believe that there is a formal greeting, which is puan or cik or sir or ma'am. Use that because they are not your kakak, they are not your abang, or pakcik or makcik. They are not. So those are things that you have to be careful. I've seen, people who actually do that. They call them, they call pakcik, makcik, and I'm like, I'm not your kakak, I'm not your makcik.
Very interesting indeed. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So moving on. Okay, maybe we want to go to the next slide. Okay. So the questions that you get in when you go into an interview, right? That's always this. That's always that. Tell me about yourself. So how do you tell your story? Because what's important about your story is that it has to. It will tell you. The person who is actually questioning that question, it will tell you. You will be able to share who are you, your character. When I say character, it means that who am I as a person, and then I will also be able to share my values, and the other thing also is that you will also be able to share what is your accomplishment, and how will that accomplishment help you in serving the company whom you are trying to get into. So when you talk about character, right, it's about your values basically. How you behave, how you are going to be, bringing in the correct persona within the company. So you have to tell your story. So for example, like myself, right? When a person asks me about myself, I will start with always telling them about what I value first, who I am. So in this case, I always believe that I am, like I shared with you guys just now, I am part of a bigger community. And I always believe that my accomplishment is always about the accomplishment of my parents, my family, the ones who support me, and my team members. So all those things are the ones that you will tell in your story. And it's always has to be relevant to the job that you are, applying for. So for example, if you are applying for a sales position, don't suddenly, you should be telling about how yourself in a way that you will be able to share how you are able to, portray yourself as a salesperson. Jangan pula, just because I ask who you are, then you start telling all this grandmother story about, your problems and, your life story from a perspective of, from A to Z, how I was born, where I am, because those are the natural, people always do that. When you ask yourself, tell me about yourself, they will tell me, oh, my name is this, my name is, let's say, Yu-Yang. My name is Yu-Yang, I am from KL, I was born here, I am the third of 4 children. Those are things that you can probably share in the resume, or it will come out, one way or another, unless you want to say that being the third in the family, gives me an opportunity to be a bit more vocal, because as the third son in the family, I'm always the one who's not heard because of my 2 elder brothers, for example. And so you have to be able to relate to that. Then there is, because so whatever you tell always have to have some sort of the ability for you to then say that what I learned from that. So for example, if let's say katakan, I was born in the year of the rabbit, okay, and I believe that my character suits, the year that I was born. As a rabbit, I am very soft and gentle, but I'm also very fast and very driven, for example. So that's how it is. So see, even Yu Yang is smiling when I'm telling this. So it's always about that, because when you say when you tell it like that, then your interviewer will be like, okay, you actually thought of what you want to tell me, and you actually answered it in such a way that shows me that you come prepared into the interview. Because coming in prepared into the interview is very important for even as simple question as tell me about yourself. Because if I ask you right now, Yu Yang, tell me about yourself, how would you answer it?
Yeah. For my perspective, I would put 3 goals to define myself. So there's 3 goals which I want to be a professional when I'm 10 years into my career. That's number 1.
Yep.
Secondly, I would actually want to start up my own company.
Nice.
That's my second goal. Yeah, and then the third one is actually to be a speaker. That is my long-term goal. So yeah, so this is what actually I would tell if I was asked the question.
That's very nice. That means it shows that you're prepared. And one more thing that I would encourage that you do is that you include the why you want to achieve those goals. So for example, if you say that your long-term goal is to be a speaker, and why do you want to achieve it? What's the reason for it? And that will tell us a bit about your values. Maybe you say that, okay, I want to, because I believe that as I grow older and I grow more, into the job, I will have more experience that I will be able to share with my community, with the younger generations. Hence, being a speaker allows me to do that. So that, in a way, is already showing what kind of person you are and what are your values. Okay?
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Okay, let's go on. Because okay. So when you talk about storytelling, people always say that, alamak, do I tell a Cinderella story? Once upon a time, I was born in this particular little kampong in Johor, things like that. But actually, it has to be relevant, obviously. It has to, you have to be able to share the story where it makes people actually know that, okay, you've thought about this. So the 4 steps in storytelling is always about, 1, you have to prepare and practice. You have to know who your audience is or are. And then it has to be relevant to the situation and to the organization and to the job that you're applying for. And the other thing is that you have to make sure that it is genuine. So what do I mean when you talk about prepare and practice? First of all, going into an interview, I hope that none of you go into an interview not knowing what you're going into, what the company is, and who are you going to be speaking to. In these days and age, it's a bit easier for you all to find out those things. Because during my time, there was Google, I think, but there's no LinkedIn, there's no Glassdoor. We're not able to actually, I think there was only Job Street at that time. So it was a lot harder to find out about, things. But in this day and age, you have no excuse whatsoever to not know the company, the job that you're applying for. And also, sometimes you're also able to find out about the person that you're going to be meeting. Okay, so it could be that you're going to be meeting the HR people. Chances are, if you get, you may be able to actually search, on the company website, who are the HR person for that company. So, for example, that could give you a bit. Okay, then go into LinkedIn and be a stalker to find out about a person. And at the same time, when I say prepare and practice, it's also about having a few stories in your pocket to tell. So when you anticipate a question, you have several stories. So let's say if a person asks you, tell me a situation when you had a hardship that you have to overcome. So anticipate those kind of questions and have experiences or situations where you are able to answer that question. And Practice it with your friends and family. Or if you're too shy, like myself, I get very shy about actually practicing it with friends and families. What I do is that I stand in front of the mirror and start talking to myself. And you do that because what you do is that now you have a phone, right? You are able to record yourself. So you do that so that you're able to see how you look and how you talk. Because when you talk, sometimes you have things that you say. So like my weakness, when I talk a lot, I tend to say, so that I know. That's my filler in any situation. When I don't know what to say, I will say, So that's something that I'm very aware of. Okay. So next one, when the next one that I say is that you must know your audience. Just like I said just now, research the company. I can't tell you how many times I've gone into interviews where the person coming in doesn't know anything about my company. For my example, for telecom, they don't know. They know that telecom means unify, but that's about it. When telecom is so much larger than just about unify. So that becomes telling whether you are interested or not in that job that you are applying for and the company that you are trying to join. I've gotten questions. I've gotten answers when I ask them, do you know anything about the company or the job that you're asking for? And they're saying that, actually, I was just called yesterday, and it was too short a time for me to find out anything, which to me, there is nothing, that shows me your disinterest or you're not interested in the job when you don't know, you can't even make an effort to find out about the company or the job that you're applying for. Okay. And then at the same time, what you want to do is also be relevant. So if you are applying, especially for young graduates, right? This probably is your first time going into the working world. Sometimes you will say that, but I don't have any experience, so I applied to be an engineer, for example, or a creative graphic person, but I don't have any experience, working experience. So how do I do that? How do I, address that? Like it or not, you will always have experience. And, if you are a fresh graduate going into an interview, as an interviewer, we will know that. And I will not be penalizing you when you say that, I don't know, and, I don't have an experience as an engineer, for example. I would, if you do have an experience, then I would be worried, because then I'd be like, oh, wow. But at the same time, what it does is that you have different things that you want to share. So for example, you can have experience in the university or in the college as for example, working in a cafeteria. How does that relate to you being an engineer? I help to make the process in the cafeteria a bit more smooth by having a production line instead of us working on one dish all at the same time. We have a production line so that everybody, it becomes a process. That could be an example. So it could be that I was in a student body and we organized an event. And my role was to actually be the sound engineer. And how is that? It sounds glamorous, but it's actually just making sure that people is able to be heard. And, I just make sure that the mic has a battery in it. Make it fun, make it, a bit more, it can be also a comedic relief, because interviews do not have to be, all serious. And I try to make it as, for me, when I become the interviewer, I try to make it as relaxed as possible, because I find that when you are relaxed, then you are able to be a bit more forthcoming in your stories. And lastly, it's about being genuine. This one is very important. Do not make up stories. If you truly do not have any experience or anything to tell, just say, I'm sorry, but I really can't think of anything at this point of time, to share about me being able to, to become successful at an organization. So be that. Okay, at least you are being genuine rather than try to make up stories, because I've seen situations where people make up stories and then they go into a situation where they go round and round and round, and what happens is that then they forgot what they told at the start, and towards the end it's something else. So I know that people are nervous, and when you are nervous, you are always wanting to be the best, especially in interviews, right? But don't be afraid, to say that you don't know, because sometimes, for me, right, when a person say that they don't know, it takes a lot of courage, because it's very easy for you to just say that, oh, I'm aware of this, I'm familiar with this, because everybody wants to now know everything, right? Especially these days and age. But for you to be able to say that, oh, I'm sorry, this particular story has not come on my news feed, for example. The ones that I know is a bit different. Can I tell you a different story that will somehow still answer your question? So that's fine. So always, and if you go into an interview and you feel nervous, whatever, just ask the interviewer, can you give me a moment? And you just take a deep breath and calm yourself down, because taking a deep breath will help you to calm down, and then start again. Okay, because the interviewer, contrary to many beliefs, the interviewer do not want you to fail, because it is not easy interviewing people, and it is actually tiring. Can you imagine if I have to sit through a week of talking to 100 people for one position, for example? As much as possible, I would love for me to just go into 1 or 2 interviews and meet the person and say that, whoa, I think this is the person for it. And that's it, rather than having to go on and on. So actually, as an interviewer, I don't want you to fail the interview session. I want to get to know you. I want to be able to find out more about you, and I want to make sure that you are successful. Okay, and the best part about it is that, right, sometimes you go into an interview, you apply for a different position. So for example, you apply to be a speaker, for example, right? So maybe you want to be, to start the journey, you said that you want to be a salesperson. But somehow, as an interviewer, sometimes I will see that, perhaps you are more suitable for a different position, and you have to be open about it as well. And that's the best part about being genuine about yourself, because then you start to show who you are, and people start to see that, oh, okay, because sometimes you don't know everything about you, right? There will always be something that people see differently from you about yourself. So as an interviewer, sometimes it takes a fresh eye to tell you that, actually, I think Yu-Yang, you are such a warm person. I think you'll be very great with internal communications in HR, for example. We are currently having this opportunity, and I think you'll be a great person to be in that role. So then nicely it goes into a different opportunity. So for me, don't try to fool the interviewers, because especially in a panel of interviewer, there will be 4 sets of eyes or 2 sets of eyes looking at you. They will be able to tell. People will be able to tell when you are not being genuine. So, it's best that you just be yourself. Okay? Any questions so far? Yu Yang, is there any question?
So far, no. Really like
Okay.
this session.
Okay. Okay. So let's
Yeah.
move on to the next one. Okay. So I think because okay, we've got another about 20 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, about 20 minutes. Okay. So what happens is that at the end of it all, right, you always have this question where you ask yourself, do I have what it takes for the company to hire me, right? And interview sessions is just one of the ways that you actually show about yourself. There's your resume, obviously, that got you into the door. And I think there was a session about resume earlier, writing your resume. And then the interview session. And then also at the end of it is that, how do you end the session, right? So when you talk about whether you have it and what is the company is looking for, this is where you need to then look at yourself and say that, hey, have I, shared with the interviewer a few things, okay? So have the interviewers asked you about things that will demonstrate your skills? And when I talk about the skills, right, it could be technical skills. That's an important part of the job. So for example, if you are, the interview, if you are asking to be a chef, for example, suddenly, if you're applying to be a chef, obviously you must have technical skills to be a chef, right? You must know whether it is a gas oven or an electric oven, for example. You must know the knives that you use to cut, whether it's cutting meat, whether it's cutting vegetables, right? So these are things that you will need to show that, you have the skills for it. So if a person asks you, if let's say an interview for a chef, tell me how do you fillet a fish? So walk me through the process of filleting a fish. So you, as a person who has been trained, you will need to tell that story. Oh, when I fillet my fish, I make sure that the fish that I want to fillet has the least bones, for example, because then it will make things easier. Why do I like it? Things like that. And what kind of knives do I use? So it really, if let's say you are applying to be a communicator, then tell me, what are the skills that are needed to be a communicator? And you keep quiet. Then how do I know that you can be a good communicator if you're keeping quiet, right? I'm nervous. I don't know how to communicate when I'm nervous. But you'll be going into situations where you will have to communicate with people that you don't know. So as to be a communicator, obviously you have to have the confidence and the skills to be a good communicator. Be aware of who you are and, practice yourself. Like myself, especially now we work from home, right? In front of my desk at home, I actually have a mirror in front of me. Because when you go into meetings, you have to, you need to be aware of how you look in meetings also. So if, because like myself, right, people always tell me that, oh, KB, you always look so serious. And half the time I didn't even realize that I'm looking serious or I'm actually, looking like they would say that you look very miserable, I'm like, huh? Here I am thinking that I am okay, I am smiling and all, but people say that I look very serious. So that's where you need to be aware. So when you talk about your skills, you will share, for example, you will get to know what are the skills needed via the job description. Many people do not look at job descriptions when they are applying. So they just say that, oh, okay, this is a job with telecom or with, MAS or with, for example, I want to work with the police. And they don't even see what is the job description. So you have to know what is the job description so that you know that your skills actually match the job description. Okay? And then next thing that you want to share is also about your attitude. And these are things that I, as an interviewer, and interviewing for Telecom Malaysia, these are things that I look for. Because actually, in terms of if you ask me to rank between skills, attitude, and traits, I would say that I would rank attitude first before even skills. Okay? Because you see why? Attitude is very important. You may not have the right skills at the time, but it's something that I believe can be trained, unless it's very specific. So like, for example, oil drilling. Obviously, you know, you must know some basic knowledge about oil drilling lah, if I want to hire a driller, right? Because if not, then I wouldn't be able to send you to some offshore place, you know, for you to start doing your job. But if it's more, you know, especially sales, communication, marketing, those are things that I feel that, you know, you will be able to train on the job. So for example, sales, even if you say that, oh, you know, I don't know whether I have this sales skills, you are able to talk, you are able to know what's right, and you are able to show a product. Obviously there will be you know, the ability for you to sell. Okay, but the attitude is very important, because if you don't have the right attitude, then I won't be able to even put you in a situation where you have to learn. So for example, just now, if you've never had a sales experience, right, and you said, I've never done this, I don't know, I will be giving everything for free if I have to sell something, for example, you know. But so I don't know, I don't think I can do it. That already tells me an attitude that no can do, nothing can be done. Unlike a person who comes in and say that, oh, I've never done that, but I think, you know, perhaps you know, I can be good at it if I give it a try. You know, given a situation, given an opportunity, I think I would like to try it, you know, so that at least I know whether I am good at it and I will be able to develop that skill. So that shows me the ability for you to say, kata, oh yeah, I'm very excited about this and I want to try it, and you know, I will do my best to be the best and to do this what you call this new job that you want me to do. So that in a way will tell you that, you know, even if I don't have the right skills, I have the right attitude, and I will be able to try out whatever that you want to try. Because sometimes, you know, a lot of people think that when they apply for a job and that they will be in that job forever, you know. So I applied to be a salesperson and you're hired to be a salesperson. And when you are asked to be, for example, sales operation, which is a bit more behind the scene work, then you're saying, oh, but I like meeting people, and I cannot sit in an office. I must go out and meet people. But sometimes the job, you know, changes. The job description of yours may change. The situations of the company may change, and they will require different skills or different people to be in different roles. So you need to be adaptable to that. And that tells me the attitude as well. Okay, so you have to ensure that, you know, you are able to address or to handle change, because most of the time, you know, you don't always stay in this one role. And especially a person, if let's say macam you Yang, you have this what you call this dream to be a speaker one day. So in order for you to be a speaker, you have to be able to actually have a lot of experience, right? You know, different experience, so that different stories, because then you'll be able to share your stories when you're speaking to different people. So be open to, you need to be open to changes, and you need to be open to things that will allow you to be a good speaker. And that's how it is. For me, right, like my attitude is that right now, the job that I'm in, design thinking and user research, if you ask me what was my degree and what was I trained and where I am right now, I would tell you that I had zero knowledge about it from when I was, you know, trained until now. For example, when I was doing product development a few years back. When I got into the job, I had zero product development. But I told the interviewer at that time, and who became my boss, I said that my knowledge is zero. However, my drive is through the roof, and my learning curve is very steep. I'm a fast learner, and I will, be excited about learning about this for me to be excellent in this new role. And that's how it is. And I got the job, so I admit it very upfront. I told them that I have zero experience, but that's how it is. I will learn, and I am willing to do whatever it takes for me to learn to be excellent at the job. And that's what you do. And you find yourselves, you surround yourself with the people who will be able to help you. Okay. And lastly, it's also about sharing what are your personality traits. In an interview, when you tell your stories, right, it always tells you always also want to highlight what are your personality traits. Am I a team player? What's my creativity? If what are my strengths and weaknesses? So that needs to be shown as well. Sometimes a person, sometimes you are not asked, tell me about your strength. If you are not asked about it, make sure that at one point or another you are able to share it. So during an interview, right, there is always this session, this ending that goes that where the interviewer will say that, do you have anything to share, or do you have any questions to ask, right? And the problem with that is that a lot of people will only ask, the only question that majority of you all will ask is that, when will I know whether I am successful or not? Sometimes it's also an opportunity for you to use it to highlight who you are. Okay. You know what? I didn't get to tell you about a story that will highlight my, who am I? I would like to tell you a bit about myself as my strength, or even I like to tell you actually about an area of challenge that I hope that to share with you. So because working on an area of challenge is also important to show to the interviewer. Because let's say, for example, if you can say that, oh, I am a person who works, who is a procrastinator, or I am a lazy person, for example. But you know what? Because I am lazy, I will always find ways to make sure that what I do is, quickly done. All right? Okay, give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry.
Yeah, no
A
worries.
technical error, domestic issue. This is what happens when you work properly. Okay. So that's it. So when you look into what do I always get asked, how do I decide whether the person is the right person for the company or not? And a lot of times it's, of course, by how you present yourself. It's also gut feeling. Okay, whether we like it or not, we have to admit that you will have some inner voice of you saying that, oh, you know what, this person is probably not right, or this person, wow, this person really will be able to do a good job in this role, so those are things, again, and at the same time, it's how you interact. Communication skills are very important. All right. So take it from me, who has been here a long time, 20 odd years, going into my 23rd year already. People, as you move up, you will see that sometimes there are a lot of people who are good at their jobs, but because they are not able to communicate well, they are not able to actually show who they are and how they can do the job well. So please do that. If you feel that you don't have communication skills, please show or please please improve and work on your communication skills. Hello? Do we have technical problems?
Yeah, I think the internet broke. We're back again.
Okay. All right. I think that's about
Can you
it.
see the slides?
I beg your pardon?
Can you see the slide?
I
Yeah.
can't. But it's okay.
Is the slides there?
No slides.
Okay, wait.
No problem. It's okay. I think I'm at the end of it. If there is any questions, if not,
we would actually like. All right. I think there are a few questions.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
some of the question.
the first one. All right. So from Sudhir.
Sudhir.
Okay. Sorry. From Lisa.
Uh-huh.
She said that how to overcome her shyness because she is always hesitant to share fearing
Interviews may not be
may not be interested in what they're saying. Yeah,
Okay,
so
right.
fearing what the interviewers may not be interested in what she's going to say.
Okay. Hi Liza, Assalamualaikum, Waalaikumsalam. Okay, thanks for the question. Shyness is not a bad thing at all. Okay, it's okay to have certain shyness because then it gives you a bit of grounding, you know. However, please do not ever have this this thought in your mindset that interviewers are not going to be interested in what I'm saying, because think of it this way: the interviewer actually called you in, and as I said it just now, you know, it's tiring. It's not easy being an interviewer. It's not, you know, it's a tiring part to be an interviewer too. Okay, so and interviewers are also quite nervous, also meeting people. All right. So the feeling is both ways. It's not just you feeling like, okay, will they be interested in what I'm saying? But it's also like, you know, you go into an interview and, you know, you're going to be, okay, tell me about yourself. And, you know, the person who is coming in for the interview, you'll probably be, this is my 10th interview or my 100th interview and I have to answer this again. Tell me about yourself. You know, so you may be tired also. So we're thinking like, oh, are we asking the right questions as well? So it's both ways, okay? So don't worry about it. You know, interviewers are also human beings. So when they ask you questions, that means they are interested to find out more about you and to get to know your answers. So never worry about it. Being shy is okay, you know, but don't let it be that it stops you from sharing who you are and answering the questions and telling your stories. Okay, always go to the interview thinking that, remembering that interviewers are also human. That's all. Okay, what else?
All
Any
right.
other questions?
From 𝘰𝘰𝘺𝘁, do you set
Okay, 𝘰𝘰𝘺𝘁.
so do you set any time frame when conducting an interview? Shall the key questions to be posted or answered in a precious manner? Precious. I
Okay.
believe.
So I believe Yong is saying that whether there is a time frame, you know, so in setting an interview. Obviously, you know, especially let's say katakan I have to meet 10 people for that day, right? And I don't want to stay until 10 o'clock at night. So yeah, there will be interview sessions. It depends. It could be only one person, and I can take a bit of a longer time. But it could be a session between half an hour to 1 hour. Usually, with TM, we usually set about an hour, half an hour to an hour. Given that, so that we know that okay, we have this time frame. However, if you're lucky, if you tell a lot of interesting stories, then your session may be longer. Or if you cannot tell any stories, then your sessions may be shorter. Okay, so for me, when you go into an interview, one thing first that is very important is that, and I forgot to share this just now, is that when you are telling your story, the first story is always the most important story, which is then that tell me about yourself. Is also your elevator, what they call an elevator pitch. You have 60 seconds. What's the best thing that you want to highlight first? That's the first thing that you will say when you answer the tell me about yourself. Okay. So because usually it's from the answers that you give in the question in the interview sessions that we start to ask more and more. So there are questions to be asked, but it's also depending on the answers that the interviewees will give. So if you answer questions and share with us stories that are interesting, that are relevant, then obviously we're going to be very interested to know more about the story. Okay?
There is another question.
Okay.
Would it be helpful if we can link our offering or skills with the company tagline to create a good impression?
Again, it's about being genuine. If it is really something that relates to you, then go ahead. But if it is not, then don't do it. Remember just now I said that you have to be genuine, and being genuine is the one that will create good impression. It's not about just sharing something just to make sure that, if let's say for example TM's tagline is about life made easier, then suddenly you talk about how I make other people's life easier when you actually have never done it. Then it doesn't correlate and it doesn't jive with that whole persona that you have of yourself. So at the end of the day, it's about being genuine. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what else? There was one question that I was looking at just now that was a bit, I think, interesting.
There are a few more questions.
Actually, there was one that I wanted to answer, which is from Sri Dev. There was this one question: what are the thoughts about job seekers who have long gaps between jobs, especially during the pandemic when applying for a job is tough? And this is something that is real, right? For me, it is not a problem. The problem is when you are not able to share what you did during those gaps. So you may not be officially in a job. So for example, if you're an engineer and suddenly you got laid off, and then 3 years, 2 years, or even 6 months, for example. Okay, maybe 2 years is too long. 6 months and you have a gap in that resume, or a year you have a gap. It's okay to have that gap. What's more important is to actually share what did you do during those gaps. I took as I was not doing anything, I was not working professionally at that time. What I did was I went to help at a volunteer organization. So for example, I did voluntary work. So then it becomes, something that, okay, although the person who's an engineer may not have done, may not have been an engineer during those times, but they did something. Or I took a language lesson, or I did, for example, during this pandemic, I know a lot of people who went looking for, extra work, different things that they do. They learn different languages. So those are things that you can do also. Okay, so don't be worried about your gap, But what's more important is that what did you do during those gaps? And it's good to share even the littlest thing. So for example, during COVID, I did voluntary work. And I was very serious about doing voluntary work for that 3-4 months, right? So, and I did that, and it's okay to do that. So not that I was out of a job, but but what happened is that it becomes something that I feel that I have to give to the community, and it's okay. Okay, and this is also I think one of the things is that working mothers are also like that, right? Sometimes they take a gap year because they want to raise their family. It's okay. Tell that I stopped working for 2 years because I wanted to spend time with my children, for example. And what did you do? The skills that you learn as a mother is invaluable. When you go into a working world, time management is superb for working mothers. So don't be afraid to share those experiences. All right. Okay, I am actually available on LinkedIn. So any one of you, my full name, I don't use any abbreviated name. So you will be able to find Khairulbariah Dzun Nurin. And please message me for any other questions, or if you want, I'm open to mentoring. I'm open to sharing experience with, especially for you, the younger ones. The older ones also can lah. And don't forget, please, what do you call this? Please vote for TM. We are nominated in the Graduate Choice Award, so please vote for us, okay? And there will be prizes to be won. I think the ones that we answered some of the questions, they will win some prizes as well. So don't forget to leave your email.
Yeah, for those who actually ask a question, could you please list down your email address so we can actually email you for the prizes to be won? Yeah, just put it into the chat group and it will be fine.
Yang, one thing though, I see that there are a few questions that we haven't answered. We will answer those. I will be able to answer those questions. You will give me a those as well, right?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
You can go. Yeah, you can go ahead and answer those questions as well.
Okay. Thanks a lot, everybody.
For any more questions, you actually can connect to 𝘥𝘭𝘆𝘆𝘵's LinkedIn. If you do not know how to write her whole name, you can either copy it from the webinar page itself, or you can go to our Facebook page and look it up as well.
Yeah, too long, is it?
just in case. Right.
Okay, right. Anything else?
Yep. Okay, thank you, 𝘥𝘭𝘆𝘆𝘵, for giving us this very, very informative session. And I definitely, even if because I just started working, I learned quite a lot as well. So if I need to change job or anything, I would definitely use the tip that 𝘥𝘭𝘆𝘆𝑚 actually shared.
All right.
All right. So for TM career booth, there will be in our virtual career fair, and they will be in 𝘥𝘪𝑎 as well. So if you guys would like to check them out next week, they will be there. And please, thank you for visiting this virtual career fair and taking your time to actually listen to this webinar. We have another webinar tomorrow at 3 p.m. So please feel free to stay and listen to our webinar tomorrow as well. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.